everyone. Welcome to the TD Global Insight for SAP webinar. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name's Lauren and I'll be hosting you for this webinar. Before we start, I'm just going to briefly introduce Neil and Tommy, who will be talking on the topic today. So Tommy has 20 years of experience in software enterprise business at Altron, IBM, and Blue Turtle. He's an expert in assisting customers establish powerful data applications and process platforms, and he is the data director for TD Global. We also have Neil Whitehead joining us. Neil joined Sybase in 1998, and he led a number of large global projects for some of Sybase's largest financial customers. Neil now leads the global Sybase go-to-market function at SAP, and we're very happy to have him join us this morning for this webinar. Today, we will be talking about migrations and how we've helped customers with migrations as well as in the cloud. And Neil will be giving us more information on the SAP roadmap and what we can expect from SAP and Sybase in the future. We'll be running a Q&A during our session. Any questions that you may have, we'll address at the end. We'll also be going live with a poll at the end of our webinar to find out what you are doing with your SAP landscape. So I'm going to hand over to Tommy.
Thank you very much, Lauren. So in talking about the agenda for today, as Lauren mentioned, we are joined by Neil from SAP, who's going to be discussing some of the SAP Sybase roadmap and functions and features within the new software versions. We're going to give you a solution overview of a TD Global product called Insight for SAP Sybase, which customers are able to get from the SAP App Center. And we're going to give you a little bit of a view as to what this product allows you to do. We're also going to talk a little bit about migrations and work that we do with SAP Sybase customers worldwide at the moment. We're then going to step into some of the roadmap and newer version conversations with Neil. And then we're going to sum it up. And as Lauren mentioned, there's a poll and there's areas for you guys to ask questions, which we will address at that stage. To give a little bit of a view of TD Global, and I think this is important in the context of this conversation, is that TD Global has been involved with SAP Sybase for a very long time. The company started in 1991 as Sybase South Africa, and we were the core Sybase partner in the region. As you know, Sybase was acquired by SAP in around about 2010, and with that acquisition, the Sybase South Africa business was acquired by SAP at the time. With the executives moving over to SAP and also running various different infrastructure and data practices across EMEA, the company decided to re-establish the organization in 2013, and we rebranded the business from Sybase South Africa to TD Global. And this is the entity in which we're operating as of now. From there, we started expanding worldwide. We moved to Singapore to look after Southeast Asia in 2016. And we've also opened an office in Europe in 2019. Our offices at the moment include Singapore, Amsterdam, and Johannesburg, which looks after our Middle East and African operations. Our core value proposition within TD Global's data business is trying to ultimately help customers trust their data so that they can better accelerate their digital transformation journeys. In saying this, we've got a couple of core options and offerings to the market. The first one is we provide discovery services where we are able to do health checks, maturity assessments, and improvement plans, and inevitably help customers understand how to get on the journey for digital transformation. We have an area of the business that's focused around trusting of data. Here we do a lot of work around data quality, data governance, data security, and data delivery. We've got an area of the business looking after digital transformation, where we do a lot of work with cloud platforms, including the industry hyperscalers as well as SAP. We do analytics, customer 360 journeys, as well as API ecosystems to help customers monetize their data transformation. We then have a whole selection of deployment services, which encompasses our managed services divisions, as well as professional services teams that are able to implement these data initiatives for our customers. Our core commercial offerings are centered around these various go-to-market plays. We offer fully configurable software platforms that customers can choose from, and we also provide capability of a checklist of functionality where customers can pick and choose the type of functionality or services or software components that they need to assist them during their journeys. We provide managed services, and a core function of what we do in the discussion we're going to have today around Insight for SAP Sybase is based on a managed services-based product and offering to our customers. All our offerings are subscription-based licenses, and all our offerings include professional services and 24/7 call center support. What we are talking about today, however, is Insight for SAP Sybase. And as I mentioned before, this product is available to customers from the SAP App Center. So there's a whole host of information that you can get from the SAP portal itself, or you can reach out to us after this webinar to get more information. In a nutshell, Insight for SAP Sybase is a subscription-based managed services solution that includes software, licensing, as well as managed services offering to our customers. We cover the whole SAP ASP range of technologies, which includes ASE, IQ, Replication Server, SQL Anywhere Edge, Power Designer, as well as SQL Anywhere. It includes not only support services, administration services, but also the ability for customers to look at their license pools, look at how they can optimize their current SAP licenses for Sybase, and then, of course, monitoring and various different management services for our customers. To delve into this a little bit more, we have this as a summation slide for you. So again, very important to know, Insight is a licensable subscription-based model. Customers have the opportunity to go into multi-year licenses between 2 and 5-year contracts, which includes software, maintenance, support, as well as services. We offer this as a managed solution to our customers, and we cover the various SAP Sybase products, as I mentioned just now. So how can we help you, and what do we typically do? So one of the first things that SAP customers typically engage us with is to understand the Sybase landscape and to do a health check on that environment to see where there is room for improvements. As part of this offering that we provide during this webinar, we will provide free assessments to you to see how we can get you onto the latest versions of Sybase to make benefit of the latest versions of the software. But we are also able to help customers with stability and maintainability of these platforms. We do a lot of work to help customers with performance issues, scalability, as well as load balancing and clustering, and then, of course, security. Further than that, we help customers with performance monitoring, security monitoring, and also because a lot of customers have got old Sybase estates that might not be on active maintenance or support programs with SAP themselves, the Insight product allows us to get customers onto the latest versions of the software and make sure that you are able to get to the latest patch levels that you need to be. With this monitoring capability, we are also able to look at how customers are writing their SQL code or stored procedures against the database to inevitably provide guidance as to how they can improve the performance of the Sybase estate throughout the landscape. I mentioned licensing. The Insight for Sybase product allows us to do license optimization. A lot of the time we are able to do right sizing of the environment to ensure that the appropriate number of cores are licensed, but more so look at license consolidation and platform relicensing. This is very relevant to customers that would want to move off various different Unix-based environments onto, for example, x86 environments, or to get the ability to get into internet connectivity for some of these estates that do not have it at the moment. The Insight product allows us to help customers transform that licensing requirement to make sure that they can get the most out of the Sybase platform. We work a lot with data security at the moment. There's a lot of work going on regarding initiatives like GDPR, where we are able to assist customers within the Sybase landscape to look at sensitive data discovery, the classification and governance thereof, and the implementation of policies and mechanisms to provide data protection and encryption for data within the Sybase landscapes. And then lastly, what we're going to talk about a little bit more today, which leads into some of the newer versions, which are very exciting, that's being provided by SAP, which Neil is going to be covering a little bit later in this conversation, is we do a lot of work for customers around data migration. This is centered not only around cloud migrations, but also platform migrations, moving from older versions of the software to newer versions of the software. And the reason this is important is because typically Sybase landscapes sit with very mission critical application layers on top of it. So a lot of the time what we help customers with is to understand how to do these migrations or implementations properly. And we've got a team of SAP consultants that are able to assist customers during this journey. Of course, migration testing is very important as well. And we provide automated testing on the data side to ensure that what you are moving from on-prem into the cloud or from platform to platform is in actual fact 100% correct, so that you don't have any downtime, but that you also get the business realization on your new platform very quickly. So what are customers seeing when they use SAP or Insight for SAP Sybase? Well, typically we see a 40% decrease in costs over a period of 3 years. And we'll give you a couple of examples of that just now. A lot of that's got to do with optimization of resources, making sure the license counts are correct, and making sure the customer is properly supported. But a lot of it also has to do with just being able to provide customers with Sybase consultants that are specialists in this field to augment their existing estates. Our migration platform that's included within Insight allows us to migrate and automate the migration to the cloud by being 20% faster than typical manual ways of doing this. And then, of course, we have 5 different software as well as services offerings that customers can choose from on this journey to get onto the latest versions of Sybase. I mentioned a couple of use cases. And I'm not going to go into this in too much detail now because we can provide you with the slides after this presentation. But I think worthwhile noting is in all of these industries and with all of these engagements, cost is a big factor for customers, but also the ability to get onto the critical updates, patches, and fixes that are available from SAP is critical for customers running core applications on the Sybase platforms. The other part of it is, of course, as I mentioned, helping customers to optimize the performance of these environments, making sure you've got access to the correct versions of the software to make benefit of 64-bit database architectures, but also to ensure flexibility in the platform so that there's longevity within your Sybase estate. And in saying that, again, a lot of customers feel a little bit isolated when running Sybase estates. And our Insight for SAP Sybase product available on SAP App Center allows customers the freedom and flexibility to expand the Sybase landscape in comfort and making sure it's future-proof for the years to come. So a little bit more on migrations. So a lot of the topics that are top of mind at the moment are cloud platforms. And Neil is going to be discussing that in a lot more detail than what I am. But our offering is very centered around cloud transformation journeys that customers are working with at the moment and trying to help them and optimize those journeys and migrations to not only lower cost, but to increase the efficiencies of doing that work for customers. Topics like data ops and data delivery are very important here, where we need to ensure that development and testing teams are part of this journey and provide them with the necessary level of automation technologies as part of our solution so that they can do this repetitively and autonomously. And then lastly, data security is always a factor in consideration with these migrations. And we fully cater to data security requirements as well. So what do we do within our migration solutions? So the first part of it is, this is again a software-based as well as services-based offering as part of Insight. And we are able to help customers move data from on-prem environments to on-prem environments, or on-prem environments to cloud environments, or multi-cloud environments. We're also helping customers to migrate to HANA, should they wish, or SAP Sybase in the cloud, as we will be discussing just now. We are able to provide an automation layer that allows you to move data very fast and very efficiently, and to deliver that data to the right people at the right time very, very fast. We're able to provide data governance around this, as I mentioned, regarding data risk profiling, policy management, intelligent masking, and encryption. And we're able to accelerate the development and testing efforts by factors of 10 to assist the operational teams with these migration processes. So why is this important? And I think within any landscape really, and in SAP as well, you've got multiple different personas in the environment that's either responsible for moving data around or pushing data around, and the other side of needing to consume that data very timeously to ensure adequate testing and development needs to take place. A lot of the bottleneck has got to do with the delivery of that data. We see customers waiting up to 3 weeks for a development or test environment to be generated or created or refreshed. We are able to remove that time to minutes and hours to make sure that the data is correctly available for customers. In the same way, we're able to protect the data, and we're able to create a release cycle where the platform can be integrated with SAP transport protocols within CHARM, and to make sure that you're following the correct solution manager processes and SAP protocols for doing these migrations as well, with the core emphasis on automation as part of this. So how do we do this? So there's a couple of things. The first thing is we can deploy the solution on-premise, and we can deploy the solution in the cloud or in multi-cloud environments for you. The second part of what we do is we can mask the data appropriately. So we can take production copies of the data, very quickly mask that, and we can then virtualize that data and provision it into the non-production environments for development, testing, or analytical purposes. And then what we're able to do is to move and continuously replicate that data to the cloud environments that you have for SAP on the other side. This is all automated. It is very fast, and it is very repeatable for customers. So to quickly summarize this, we are able to provide and leverage repeatable provisioning of data environments on demand. We can tear them up and down as you wish. And what this allows you to do is to have an automation layer that assists your DBA or database teams, basis teams, by automating this without the necessary time and delays and human factor that's typically involved in this. We can provide lightweight virtualized data copies, fully provisioned in the environments in minutes. And as I've mentioned before, this dramatically saves time and money, where you take these provisioning times from weeks to minutes, letting the guys get on with the process of helping with the data movements. It's a fully secure solution, so everything that we do could run across on-prem, public cloud, and hybrid cloud. And we can cater for very complex environments for SAP customers. We could automatically synchronize production data copies. We could refresh. We can provision at any particular point in time a piece of data, which means we can have multiple sets of data. Whether this is sitting at your month-end processes or just particular periods of time that you need the data to be in step with application work that's happening in the background, or application development work that's happening in the background. Again, we can link and synchronize this with CHARM to make sure that all your transports are in sync with the data. And this is where it becomes very important, is we are looking at helping the synchronization of the data platform with the rest of the work that's happening within the basis teams. In saying this, we can do all of this as personal data pods. What does this mean? We are able to move from shared dev and test environments to a personal dev and test containerized environment. This allows us to give individuals the data access as virtual copies of the data much faster. And what they are able to do is to bookmark the data at a particular point in time. So they could say, I need a bookmark of the data the way it was at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, because we are going to be doing some destructive testing of it. Once they've done the test, they can just click on the bookmark again, and within a couple of minutes, the data is reset to exactly that point, and they can do the testing again. Why is this important? Because to reset these test and dev environments takes weeks to do. If you can do this within minutes, the productivity of your dev test teams just go through the roof. We are able to version control data the same as what you would version control software. We are able to rewind to any particular point in time should there be a reason to get to access to data. This allows us not to have to go through a backup and a restore process, which is time-consuming or takes a lot of time to do, but you can do it as a self-service function. We can share and branch data to various different teams to share data workloads. This is specifically relevant when we start looking at data quality initiatives and data governance initiatives, where you've got a team of people that needs to work on this and need access to the data very fast. We are able to do this via containers, and this speeds up the process dramatically. And to finalize or to summarize this, how your teams get benefit, we typically see 4 key themes. The first one is speeding up the delivery of project delivery of migration projects and the development projects around these. The second part of it is increase in quality. And because we can automate the data component alongside everything else that's being automated within Charm and the rest of SAP, we provide a tremendous amount of value in the level of quality of the releases moving forward. We are able to assist customers with their journey to HANA, and we're able to migrate to HANA and S4HANA with much less risk during the process. Again, we are automating this function, which dramatically removes cost as well as the possibility of mistakes. And then we can also do this for various other teams apart from development testing. The same use cases can be used for analytics teams, for modeling teams and reporting teams. And again, this is important when you're starting to move data workloads for analytical purposes, to ensure that the data is correct for your reports and that you get the same results in your new platform or in the cloud. So that was me, and hopefully that gives you a little bit of a view as to what we provide with Insight. Before we move on, I'm going to hand over to Neil at this stage, and Neil from SAP is going to cover a little bit more about where SAP is going with Sybase and the new and exciting features that are available to our customers that they can leverage. Neil, over to you.
Thanks, Tommy, and good morning, everybody. So yeah, I kind of glad to be involved in this and to be able to give you an update on Sybase at SAP. Basically, I'm going to cover the main 3 products that Sybase had. Obviously, there are the other products that we still have as well. And just because I'm not mentioning it doesn't mean to say that they're lesser importance to Sybase, to SAP. But yeah, today focused on ASE, IQ, and Replication Server. Got a disclaimer just to because I'll be talking about futures, so we always kind of have that in there. I think that's pretty standard across the industry, so just so you know. Okay, so where I want to start is basically oh the slides are jumping around a bit too much. Yeah, so where I want to start is in November last year. Basically, we made a statement, an announcement on sp.com, just to clarify a few things and to be a bit more transparent about, you know, Sybase at SAP. I think we'd had various feedback from customers that, you know, there was concern that that we weren't being that transparent, and you know, we've taken that on board, and we've got some quite exciting developments that we also wanted to announce at the same time. So the announcement was made by 2 people. It was made by Irfan Khan, who was the ex-CTO of Sybase and is now the global president of SAP Platform and Technologies division, which is a division which effectively is everything apart from the applications that SAP sells. So it's a huge part of SAP. It looks after all our database technology, our middleware technology, our analytics technology for things like business objects and the analytics tool sets. So a huge part of SAP. Irfan runs that now from a sales perspective. And this announcement was with him and with his counterpart from engineering, a guy called Gerrit Kazmaier, who's the Executive Vice President of Database and Analytics Engineering at SAP. And it was really just a statement of, how important the Sybase customers were to SAP, and I think that's something that is long overdue probably, just to basically say how important Sybase customers are and how we, are really committed to that segment of our customers, and equally to basically highlight how important the Sybase products are to SAP, which again, it's probably lost in the bigger picture of SAP, just because of the amount of products we have, and just because of our marketing is done in a targeted way, and sometimes just because we're not mentioning products doesn't mean to say we've not done a lot of work on them. Anyhow, so if I go to the next slide, there was two aspects to the announcement. So one was that, just a statement about that, and then the other bit was really divided into two pieces. One was on-prem stability. So basically, what we wanted to do was sort of set this record straight in terms of how SAP was considering the Sybase products on premise. So basically, there was and the way SAP handles things like end of mainstream maintenance is they are published to sap.com in something called the product availability matrix. And if you looked at the Sybase products, they all kind of had an end date of 2025. So the first thing is to clarify that doesn't mean that after 2025 those products aren't going to be there. It just means that the version that's currently in the market has an end of mainstream maintenance of 2025. So the commitment was basically just to clarify that was the case, and that we planned beyond 2025. In terms of ASE, we've got ASE 16 planned a new release in Q4 this year. So SPO 4 of ASE will be launched in Q4 this year. And also, I was able to announce in April that we are planning an ASE 16.1 release in 2022. That basically is, I'll just notice the slides wrong. That's not good. That is, again, this being more transparent with customers. So we're giving you advance notice that there's going to be a new version of ASE in 2022, and also that new version of ASE 16.1 will have an end of mainstream maintenance date of 2030. So again, just reiterating, how important the products are, how strategic they are to the SAP, and how long term we are committed to them. And that's I think probably unique among our competitors in terms of giving you that foresight of how long that version will be supported. Equally with IQ, we've announced there's a new version of IQ coming in Q2 next year. That'll be SP05 of IQ 16.1. And replication server will track ASE. So when we do the new versions of ASE, we'll have a new version of replication server. So that's kind of how it works with rep server. So the one side of the conversation was around on-prem and our commitment to that, and then the other side was to do with an announcement about our intentions to launch cloud native versions of ASE, IQ, and replication server. And this is kind of key because we've kind of had our mindset on doing that, and it's great that we now have a vehicle which is something called SAP HANA Cloud that I'll go into in a couple of slides time, that we can do that with. So we've obviously been able to support the cloud for quite some time. We've certified ASE, IQ, and replication server with all the hyperscalers. So you can bring your own licenses to the hyperscalers. We have gone further with AWS and the fact that we had listings on AWS Marketplace. But now what we're saying is we will have in Q1 next year, we will have a cloud version of ASE IQ and replication server. So next slide. And this kind of comes into, where we see customers needing to go. So we have basically the acknowledgement that, some customers will stay on premise. It may be down to the industry they're in, the regulations, the geography they're in, that, it has laws or regulations that, needs to be there, or it may be just a very mission critical system. ASE is used and IQ are used in some very, very mission critical applications within our customer base, and some of those just aren't really the sort of thing you would put in the cloud. So we know that some customers will be there. Equally, some customers might not have a cloud plan as yet. So we've got the on-premise side of it. We know that people want to take advantage of the cloud infrastructure, and that's where these new products, cloud products, will fit. So they'll fit into that the cloud piece on the right-hand side. And then we're also aware that some customers are kind of going to take a halfway house kind of thing, or a private cloud, whether it be an on-premise cloud infrastructure that they implement themselves, or whether they have a private cloud through a third party. That is another route that some customers will have. And what we want to do is give you, the right products across that stack. At the moment, on-premise and private cloud is with the traditional product set, and the new product will be cloud centric. Obviously, we're mindful of the innovations we make with our cloud side of the portfolio. We want to bring that to private cloud, and that's something that's being considered. It's nothing I can announce at the moment, but that's something that we are looking into. Okay, next slide. So what is HANA Cloud? So HANA Cloud is basically not an SAP cloud. HANA Cloud is basically a service that sits on top of the hyperscalers. So basically, when you take up HANA Cloud ASE, you could deploy it on AWS, you could deploy it on Azure, you could deploy it on GCP. So you have that choice, that flexibility. It is something that we will run as a managed service. So basically, from an operational point of view, we'll be running the services for you. So if you have an ASE, we'll look after it, make sure it's provisioned in the first place, make sure it's backed up, etc., etc. But the key aspect of it is the pricing model. So it is going to be consumption based. So you buy something called a capacity unit, and then each of the services, so whether it be ASE, IQ, or replication server, will consume and have components that consume those capacity units at a certain rate, and that's basically how we will price it. Okay, so next. So yeah, just looking at this a different way. We already have launched HANA Cloud. So in Q1 this year, we launched HANA Cloud. It was actually in March this year. We have a HANA service and a data lake service. That data lake service is IQ, and we've just chosen to name it Data Lake just to kind of fit in with the sort of bigger portfolio. And that means you can run HANA applications with an optional data lake right now. However, it doesn't mean an IQ customer could move to Data Lake right now. That's going to be coming in Q1. And basically, we are introducing a native IQ service, an ASE service, and a replication service in Q1 next year. That means you'll be able to lift and shift your on-premise ASE, IQ, or rep server and move it into the HANA Cloud and run it as a service within that on your choice of hyperscaler, and it will be consumption based. So you can do things like, if it's a dev test system, you could spin it down at night to not have the compute consuming, or not use it at the weekend. You can grow and shrink. So there's all sorts of flexibilities from this new service. Okay, so next slide. In terms of ASE, just to kind of do a bit of a recap of where we're at and where we're going. Obviously, back in 2012, we launched ASE 15.7. That was a big step forward of the product. The main things was the introduction of the threaded kernel, We looked at really fully utilizing ASE on the new kind of multi-core, multi-threaded environments that were coming out. Obviously virtualization as well. And what we saw with 15.7 was linear scalability. And that's something that we took forward with ASE 16, which was released in 2014. And then subsequently, we've had SP releases of 16. Again, SP02 was a huge release. We introduced 3 new products. We had basically Memscale, which is an option of ASE. We had Always On, which is an option of ASE 16, and Workload Analyzer, which is an option of ASE 16. So that 3 big options that were added with lots of capabilities. Memscale has huge performance, a range of things that you can do to affect the performance of your database. Always On basically is a zero data loss way of providing HAMDR based on replication, synchronous replication. So we redeveloped Rep Server to do that. And Workload Analyzer is a tool that you can use to analyze your production workload and replay it into a test system, which is something that when you're looking at upgrades is a very important thing. And what we've done since then, with SP03 and the forthcoming SP04 is really develop on those things. As I said, we've announced 16.1 will come in 2022, and obviously we have the HANA Cloud product as well that we're introducing next year. Okay, next slide. One of the things I mentioned right at the beginning was the end of mainstream maintenance. And again, I've basically got this slide really to kind of give a historic view and a future view of that kind of end of mainstream maintenance aspect, or the life cycle of the products. The key thing to note is in the end of this year, ASE 15.7 will basically be end of mainstream maintenance. That means that whilst you'll be able to ring up and raise support incidents, if there is a bug found or a fix needing to be made to the code line, that will no longer be available because basically it's end of mainstream maintenance. That means ASE 16, and particularly ASE 16 SP03 is the code line to really be on. That's our stable release, our safe harbor release of ASE 16, which, as I mentioned earlier, is basically takes you to 2025. And then obviously we've got 16.1 coming, which will take you to 2030. And of course, HANA ASE service, which will be parallel to that. Okay, next slide. Again, just conscious of time, but just give you a flavor of where ASE engineering is focused. It's really been around OLTP performance. So we've been pushing and pushing and being pushed by customers in terms of transaction volumes, data volumes, just the speed at which business needs to occur these days. We've made massive strides. We've taken the sort of linear scalability, the vertical scalability of ASE from say 45 cores with ASE 15.5 to 80 to 100 with the latest versions of 16. Alongside that, we've got data center operations. We want to make ASE as cost effective as possible to run. So, traditionally it's always been a lot easier to run an ASE system than say an Oracle system. And we've, really kind of focused on that by making a lot of things online. We also are in, with SP04 bringing in a new Adobe Flash replacement. So Cockpit is out and AMC will be coming in. We've also focused on developer. So basically, we just make sure we're being proactive in terms of our support for libraries of the various drivers. Some of them are listed here. And then, in terms of futures and certainly around the HANA Cloud thing, we're looking at, how we can, fully exploit, the sort of memory and also the connection volumes that we need to do. Okay, next slide. Same thing for IQ, really, just to recap. So IQ 16 came in 2014. Since then, we introduced various SPs of 16 that, we've been quite active in that area. And then in 2017, we introduced 16.1. Again, we made a massive change to IQ 16 with the way that we did indexes. So we introduced a new type of index, which basically is optimized for big volumes. I think the key thing with IQ, we've got a very credible petabyte level data warehouse technology or big data solution. And, that is borne out by, we have many customers. And when I say many customers, we're talking at least 12 that I know of personally that have petabyte levels of data stored in IQ. Our largest customer has over 45 petabytes of raw data stored in IQ. Within IQ, it basically is around 4.5 petabytes, so still huge database. But massive savings on the actual raw data sizes. And that is something we kind of see with IQ, albeit IQ is obviously relevant for people with, terabytes of database storage, all the way up to petabytes. So it's a very, very scalable and cost-effective way of storing lots of data. And that's really where the focus is of IQ. Zone maps is kind of one key standout feature I'd mention in this slide here. That's basically something that we introduced in SPO3 and can have quite a marked improvement in performance. It gets away from, or is a way of minimizing the amount of I/O. Not that IQ does a huge amount of I/O anyway, but it's a way of shortcutting the I/O. So that's one thing to look at. Equally is how we store data. So the IQ can, traditionally sit on a SAN, but we've done quite a lot of work with various file system and Hadoop file systems like MapRFS to provide a different alternative storage solution underneath IQ to again help with that cost effectiveness of IQ. In terms of where we are, we're on SPO4 at the moment. We have SPO5 coming next year, and again we have the HANA Cloud Data Lake, which basically we launched this year, and we'll add the native IQ support next year. Okay, next slide. Again, just looking at the life cycles of IQ, and the key thing to point out here is IQ 16.0 is end of mainstream maintenance at the end of this year, November this year. So again, 16.1 is the release to be on, and we are in a basically SPO4 and SPO5 are the active code lines or the active releases to be on. And again, we have HANA Data Lake is running parallel to that. Okay, so next slide. IQ, as I said, the areas that we're focusing on is, extreme scale. We do have a lot of customers like pushing the amount of data and the number of users. So the customer example I gave you before is a combination of HANA and IQ, and that's something that we're seeing a lot more now of IQ customers not replacing IQ with HANA, but adding HANA alongside IQ. So the big customer I mentioned who has 45 petabytes of data, they have a system based on IQ with HANA, and that system basically serves their end users. So it's a telecoms company, and their end users on their mobiles can check their balance, check their bills. They can do all sorts of things which are running directly on this system, which is storing 45 petabytes of data. And that's not historic data. That's only 13 or 14 months of data stored in that system. So there is an archive to that system as well. So huge data volumes, but huge user volumes as well that are something that we can cope with. And again, I think the key thing here is to say there's lots of development that's gone on, but the key thing to flag is the end of mainstream maintenance, because I think that's the kind of critical thing that's coming that I want most people to be aware of. So, as I said, AC 15.7 is end of mainstream maintenance at the end of this year. Its replacement, AC 16, has been in the market 6+ years, and will take you as far as 2025. IQ 16.0 is end of mainstream maintenance at the end of this year. It's actually November, so that's another error with my slides. Sorry about that. So 31st of November 2020 is when 16.0 is end of mainstream maintenance, and its replacement is 16.1. And 15.7 replication server is also end of mainstream maintenance at the end of this year, and its replacement is a rep server 16.0. Okay. Another thing I wanted to highlight is that we've been running a global webinar series on Sybase. We're doing this every 2 weeks. We've had 4 now. So again, the slides are slightly out of date because the ASC Cloud presentation has already happened. Our next one is next week, which is on the Data Lake service and giving you insight, a lot more insight than I'm giving you on this call now. These are all available as recordings, and we can make sure you get the link so you can join this webinar series. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll hand back to Tommy or Lauren.
Neil, thanks so much for sharing that roadmap with us. We're very grateful for the information that you have shared. Before we hand over to Tommy, I'm just going to encourage our attendees to ask any questions in the Q&A section that we can address. We're also going to launch a poll now that will allow you to participate with us and give us more information. So over to you, Tommy.
Thank you very much, Lauren. So I think, Neil, thank you very much for that update. It was great. Whilst everybody is asking questions in the background and playing with the polls, I think just to summarize the conversation we had today. So as I mentioned, Insight for SAP Sybase is a TD Global product that's available worldwide on the SAP App Center. It provides a host of different capabilities and functionalities for customers, including licensing options for SAP Sybase products, as well as managed services and support functions. And then, of course, a whole host of tactical solutions to assist our customers, ranging from health checks to monitoring, data security, license optimization, and migration services. If you want to get in touch with us after this, we will be sharing the presentation and various contact details with you. We are available via our website. We are available via the SAP App Center. And what we would like to offer customers is a free health assessment being served as a remote consultation. We'll do a base assessment of your SAP Sybase estate, and we can provide you with a roadmap and a quotation for the SAP or Insight for SAP Sybase product to assist you along your journey. And that is us. Lauren, you want to go from there?
Thank you again to everyone who has joined us. We really appreciate your time. As Tommy suggested, we'll be sending you a follow-up email which will contain the presentation itself as well as a recording of the session if you'd like to review it. We'll also be addressing any questions you may raise in the Q&A section by email in the follow-up. So thank you everyone for your time. We look forward to engaging with you, and we wish you a wonderful day further.
Thank you, everyone.